Why does every game I play have B-sides now? No, I know Perot. I've played this originally when it came out. I know the routing of it, but I just remember, or didn't remember a lot of, or almost any of the specifics of the secret characters in this game, too. I guess we'll find out in a minute. I forget if there's any unlocks for beating it the first time. There's probably research stuff anyway. Yeah, it was a bit abrupt at the end, I agree. I don't know if there's, like, extended endings as you do the other stuff, though. Yeah, that was a fantastic remake. Definitely one of the best, if not possibly the best horror game that I could point to these days. Definitely the best modern horror game that I've... anything since, like, the year 2000, I think this is the best. I think it's better than the Resident Evil 1 remake. I don't really know if you can compare the two side by side exactly, but obviously the technology is much improved. It's, like, entirely different years. But, I think that the quality overall, though, like, the thoughtfulness between them, I think this was even better considered, and I like the original anyway. I'm very impressed by this. Well worth the purchase. Like, this is what horror games were. Like, obviously they didn't have the technology to do this at that point, but this kind of ambition, you could kind of feel it at the moment. And it still feels as good, like the design of it underneath. The skeleton of it still feels as good. There's just so few ambitious horror games these days that to have somebody do it properly again, it's like a different world. Yeah, I'm glad we're over the 5 and 6 dark times. I still think there was something to appreciate about 5. It just wasn't a Resident Evil game. Yeah, I never got the club key. I must have just missed it. Unless it's, for Claire, it wasn't really necessary. Maybe for Leon, it's more necessary. Because if you remember, the doors that it unlocked were kind of like vestigial. Oh, club is Leon only. Well, that explains it then. I mean, the modernization of the controls alone totally transform it. But just the attention to detail and everything all the way through is fantastic. Oh, and that crank as well, so that's, yeah, some stuff you just never sort out. He doesn't get the heart key, I gotcha. If only we could trade between our copies with a game link. The sound design was just as top-notch as the visual design as well. And it really barely had any of that corniness of the old ones, which I know is nostalgically entertaining. But, like, you could take it seriously on its own, for its own sake now, and you didn't have any of that, like, ham-handed voiceover and stuff. Leon's side is pretty corny. Well, alright, fair enough. But Claire's wasn't. Not to say the writing was the best thing in the world. Obviously, it's still a little bit awkward at times, but overall, it was better than some horror games. Thoughts about Mr. X? Oh, he's still terrifying. Yeah, this definitely did justice to the original game, no doubt. Oh, Stephanie Palermo. I've talked to her. That must be cool to be in the credits of something like this. Use all the original costumes and music when you do the B-side, so they're less samey. Oh, they actually got Harley-Davidson branding. I didn't even notice that. But you know what? That's good. I'm glad I didn't notice it, because it would have been annoying if I did. No, that's not the Tyrant. Mr. X and the Tyrant are two different things. Mr. X is the big, tall, bald guy that chases you around in the police station. Is he a tyrant? He's tyrannical. I don't know if he's classed as a tyrant, though. Well, don't expect very much from my ranking. I don't imagine it'll be astounding or anything. Why is he so angry, though? You know. He's got all of them teeth and no toothbrush. They're hinting at the train invasion. I got a C. Oh, see, they do still keep track of your saves. I thought they might. I didn't die a ton of times in it. I don't think that even matters, but... yeah, I passed. I think the time I died the most, actually, I know for a fact it was the time when I was getting hit by the freaking shipping container over and over again. Now what do I unlock? Never-ending rain, concept art, concept art. Oh, I got my costumes. My alternative for both. Survival, game mode, Leon second story. Costume, Claire, normal custom. Model M19. Trigger happy, model MQ11. G Young. New game, second run has been unlocked. Selected under story from main menu. The ending in certain parts of the game are different in the second run scenarios. See, this is the other thing that was great about Resident Evil 2, is it had a lot of extra little tidbits, as you've already probably known. There's like a lot of things to unlock in that. It's always cool that you can actually view some of the detail that they put into these models. I could actually up the texture resolution a bit if I'm going to look at stuff in the model viewer. In the game, it looks more than acceptable, but yeah, when it's like a still image. His hair's pretty impressive, though. I mean, it's easy to do shorter hair, but the texture of it looked good. Not that I want to, like, admire his belly wound. You never really get a good chance to look at them close up. Not that they're the most attractive thing to look at. But that specular highlighting is, like, it's really glittery. Yeah, that stuff always looks better when it's still. When you try to move it, it shakes like that. It's kind of weird. Ew. Ah, that's what a G Young meant. Oh, look at that. That's some subsurface scattering right there. Look at the way that light diffuses through that shape. How it kind of collects and clusters around the edges like that. That's really good. What's that, though? There's like a little bit of a... like an awkward fleck of texture sticking through the front of it. You see? It's just that little, like, half crescent. So they really did the messy-looking viscera and muscly stuff well. Look at all that wrapped, like, looks like mozzarella cheese. Ugh. Yeah, that clipping looked weird. Wait a minute. They do call him Tyrant. Is my life a lie? Oh my god, that face. Yeah, you're not crazy. It's honestly the first I've heard it. I've always thought of him as Mr. X. Oh, that's cool. You can even watch the animations. They actually did go really above and beyond on this. Serious props to the team that worked on this game. They did a great job. Looks like an action figure, doesn't it? Oh my god, look at the detail in that eye. It's so gelatinous. Actually, can you pause the animation? No, I think it's just play and then just loops. Not that that's a big deal. It would be neat if you could pause it though and see him in like any action pose. The cool thing about this kind of modeling is you actually have to have a very solid understanding of human anatomy to start at the actual skeleton and musculature, and then you diverge from various points. But, I mean, you can kind of have fun with it for a while, but eventually the form starts to break down if you don't have that underlying understanding. God damn, that's weird. Those blue vein tendony things. They have like an opalescence to them. It's a quality of light that I can't say I've really seen in a lot of things. It almost looks like hardened resin. There's so many like sub-textures and things rippling under surfaces. Various layers of opacity. Oh my god, right. See, at that point, there's not much left. He's just a mass of bones and muscle or something. Eye beast. Oh man, and all the arms are like physics rigged as well. So you can see them fall. Technology's freaking amazing, dude. I'm so impressed by this. Like, they actually sell that this is a fearsome monster without it just looking like a big, you know, caricature of itself. Even the little things can be looked at. That's that PBR right there. That grime layer. Oh, it's so good. I gotta figure out how to make stuff like this one day. There's very little actual texturing going on other than the scratches and oily smears and stuff. It's mostly just metallic surface. But then, of course, there's more detailed wear around the trigger. And then texturized bits. But they're mostly, like, physical textures, not images. Man, what a far way we've come. Just to think back on the olden days of weird triangular golden eye heads. They had like 20 polygons max for the whole top of his body. And now these look like they could practically be scans from real life. Yeah, maybe not quite there, but it's pretty close. Figuring out how to UV map. All this, make it seamless to get the maximum texture resolution is the difficult part. This and normal mapping. Right. Well, people that pull it off, you amaze me. I never knew that the top of their pistol was blue. Is that canonical? Or is that the first time that's been a thing? Like, this model really stands up to pretty good scrutiny, too. There's, like, a little nub. No, I lost it, actually. Yeah, no, it's not even worth mentioning, but there's, like, a tiny little nub that catches the shadow differently. Right on the ball of the back of it. Whoever would notice that, though? And the lighting moves smoothly over it. It's not like... It doesn't get ridges or, like, little strange edges or anything. And then they've added the, you know, physics-enabled parts onto the model. Oh, look at that. I didn't notice that the strap on the very front is just kind of suspended in front of the... I don't know, whatever you call that circular washer-looking thing. So the whole thing kind of moves together. What is this, like... Oh, never mind, I know what it is. It's like a stock that you can fold over. I always wondered what that was for, and I was like, oh no, I know already. I still think the hair looks okay. Somebody before was saying they didn't think the hair looked very good. I kind of disagree. I think it looks alright. I think you kind of have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt because hair is just so difficult to do properly. And I think from the distance, you would generally be looking at the model. I think this looks very good. I think this looks more than acceptable. It may not be the best hair I've ever seen, but it's definitely more than acceptable. Thank you very much to Picky for the Twitch Prime subscription. I appreciate it. My voice is unfortunately starting to go because I've been chatting for a good while now. I wanted to see if there's more... Oh, we can get costumes now, right? Oh, the alternate one's supposed to look like the RE1 Chris outfit, isn't it? That's cool. Yeah, so I guess I have to beat it with Leon as well to get the Mercenaries mode to unlock, if that's what it's called. Wonder how much processing power is used to making sure none of the bodies disappear. It's mostly RAM in that case. It depends how they stream the data to the live player entity camera. If they have a pretty small range with which things will spawn in and out, then, you know, you can pretty much keep a lot of stuff in memory because they're basically just fixed points. And then when you get near them, then they, you know, manifest. Yeah, they took a few liberties. The characters look slightly different. They both look a little bit more photogenic, and they look kind of like actors more than they did before. But it's not a big deal. I don't mind anyway. Well, thank you for watching Resident Evil 2 Remake, our first Claire run. If you didn't hear me say it, I can't really recommend the game enough. If you're even remotely a fan of horror games, I would recommend you play this. If you're not, maybe you should try this one, because it seems like a very good example. Well, I should say horror action games. So this one is a bit more dexterity-driven than some. Quite a few horror games are kind of like, you know, hide in a room, solve a puzzle, hide in a room, solve a puzzle. These are more like, you know, hit your headshots pretty accurately and pay attention around you and try not to get too scared. But really, really good game. Very happy with the results. The wait was worth it. The price was worth it. Kind of wish they didn't have all the DLC stuff, but it's real good, so, you know, not endorsing it, but at least it's not insult upon injury is all. Yeah, I don't know. I can never say more than about DLC like that. It's primarily cosmetic, yeah. There's the one thing that bothered me was that you can unlock the other sound, the original sound files from the old game, even the menu sounds, and when it says Resident Evil at the beginning, that's paid DLC, which I think is kind of shitty. It would have been a nice surprise if you you've beat the game the first time and it's like, unlocked classic sounds or something. But yeah, certainly this is nowhere near or even remotely resembling the types of cash grabs that you tend to see pretty commonly as mainstays in the industry now. This game is, you know, relatively meaty. It's got a lot of content to it. Do you have to pay to play for tofu? No, I don't think so. If it is, in fact, in the game, which I don't know still. So is the series called Resident Evil in the West just because the first game takes place in a house? Pretty much. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier, actually. Biohazard is a much more appropriate name for it. I guess that didn't seem like it would play well in the West, so they renamed it. There is sort of a general theme of houses/families exploring a building, exploring areas, exploring human relationships, and then a bioweapon. Oh, was it copyright issues? Was that why? I guess that would be a good reason. Oh, that was a band. Okay. What's tofu mode? You actually play a... how do you describe it? It's like a fast-paced arcade survival mode as a giant block of tofu with a military beret, and you only have a knife, if I remember correctly. It's a silly thing, and it's quite funny. So yeah, I want to unlock that at some point.